Welcome to Tempo Living's podcast, Tempo Talks, where we talk about home building, business, and everything in between. Today's guest represents a population that's forecast to be greater than Tasmania by 2041. He's the Mayor of Blacktown City Council, Brad Bunting. Welcome to Tempo Talks.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here with you.
Let's go back in time and talk about what a young Brad Bunting thought he'd be doing growing up versus where he is now. All
sports mad kids, I thought I'd be, on the cricket field somewhere or playing football for Man United, something like that. Loved growing up in Western Sydney. Had great times with my brother. He's 18 months older than me, and we spent most of our times on weekends and after school playing cricket or footy in the backyard, and enjoying our time in what was a pretty sparse Western Sydney at that time. Growing up in the 70s, 80s in Western Sydney is much different than it is today. School talked about maybe taking on a role in teaching, that sort of stuff. So didn't envisage myself getting into politics or becoming the mayor. Always had that interest at school. I had a school teacher that taught economics that put that love of politics into me. My father was always a union man, always talked about politics and the Labor Party, about what unions did for people. So a couple of different interests always made me interested in thinking about it, reading about it, having that interest in the background. But to be sitting here with you today, 12 months on becoming the mayor, it's exciting. It's good to think of somebody that's grown up here in Western Sydney in the Blacktown area in Mount Druitt is actually now the mayor of this area, and I can help in building new communities like we've got out here in Marsden Park.
A wonderful success story. Growing up in Western Sydney, what lessons still guide you in the way you lead today?
It's remembering your home roots. It's remembering the people, and it's remembering those good times of, as I said, growing up there. We always had, places to be able to ride our bikes and be able to play sporting fields, and we had a local swimming pool close to us that we could walk to. And in the hot summer days, as you would know here in Western Sydney, good community infrastructure was really important, and it still drives me today to make sure that we get that for our community. Yeah.
So you entered politics and public service in 2016. Mm-hmm. What pushed you from private sector into public life?
Again, it was that connection with the party. It always takes somebody, I think, within one of these political parties to identify somebody and say, have you ever thought about this? And it was the late Charlie Lales, who in himself was almost like an icon here in Western Sydney of what he's done for our community, who said to me that I think you would be good. You have that connection already with the community. You're involved with lots of sporting clubs. You're involved with other charities and things like that, that you would have that natural ability to move into politics. And with his encouragement, it really was a quite easy step to go into becoming a local councillor. Yeah.
And I think being at local government level, it is all about community. You worked previously in the funeral services industry. That would have taught you a lot about compassion. How has that shaped your leadership?
Yeah, over 20 years working in the funeral industry, and a lot of people, you get those two types of people when you talk to them. When someone would say to you, where do you work or what do you do? I'd say, I'm a funeral director. And one set of people would go, oh, and then walk away, didn't want to know about it, or dead people, I don't want to talk about that. Others would be like, wow, tell me more about it. And others would be saying, how do you go working with dead people? And I would say to them, that's a very small part of what we do in the industry. It's working with the people that have lost somebody. And it's very rewarding being able to help them through probably what the hardest time in their life is, and to be able to make it just that little bit easier and have a good send-off for their family members made it really, really rewarding. And being able to empathise with families, be able to make sure that you put yourself in their shoes, work through, as I said, very tough times for them, very emotional times. That does help. It does cross over to these times, because I can tell you as a local politician, very, very rarely did you get somebody ringing you up saying, what a great job you've done. More than likely it's, can you help me with this? Can you fix that? I have a problem with this. And that's fine. That's part of our role. But it does help you understand, empathise with them. We get people that come to us that have got nowhere else to go. They've tried different ways. They've tried to be able to get something fixed or something improved, and they hit roadblocks along the way. So they will come to their local councillor or come to the mayor or a member of parliament and say, can you help me with this? And again, being able to help them and just get rid of those little roadblocks or work out something why they haven't got to where they've got to get to is, again, it's rewarding.
Speaking of rewarding and getting a tap on the shoulder for a good news story, we can see Blacktown City Council's roadmap for growth. Really exciting. We'll talk about Blacktown Quarter in a minute, but specifically, the growth that we've seen in Blacktown over the last 20 years and where it is today, you must be proud of that.
Oh, yeah. We, as you would know, but for your listeners, we're the largest local government area in New South Wales. 450,000 people call Blacktown home. We're growing to over 600,000 in the next 20 years. And you would know that in this industry, there's pressure on us all the time to be able to deliver more and more houses. But the rewarding thing for us, or for me personally, is to make sure that we're building good communities. And I say it a lot, and the people I work with are saying, you say that a lot. And I say, because it's important. Growing up in Western Sydney and understanding how important it is, but it's a great place to live. The infrastructure needs to keep up with the housing. We're not that far away from the mountains. We're not that far away from the coast. It's a good place without the hustle and bustle too much of inner city. And I'm proud of the suburbs that we're building out here, and to see it as the biggest population, but a place that people want to move to, and places that people they're not just choosing it for cost anymore. I think they're choosing it for a way of life as well. Good open spaces, good connections to lots of parts of Sydney.
Local government would have a very significant role to play in these open communities and open spaces, especially as we start seeing lot sizes of blocks of lands trending smaller. It's just a natural progression of what we've seen over the last 10 years. How important is it to have these open spaces for communities? The backyard cricket days are probably gone in this suburb specifically, but it's wonderful to see the community engaging with each other in these open spaces.
You're right. You hit the nail on the head, Jeremy, when we're talking about as lot sizes get smaller, houses don't. If anything, where I've grown up and where I live in a 3-bedroom fibro house on a big block to a big house on a small block, it's more and more important open space. Open space for the kids to kick a footy around or play cricket, to ride their bikes, to be able to get outdoors. And it's great that we can enjoy each other's company. But I can tell you now, it doesn't matter how small your backyard is, I reckon you can still get a game of cricket in. When my brother and I used to play cricket in a small alleyway down our backyard, even though we had a big one, we had a certain spot that we always played. So I reckon someone will always find somewhere to play a game of cricket. But we need to work, and we do work with the state government when it comes to planning, when it comes to looking at a new suburb and about what needs to be delivered, how much open space, and those connections between the open spaces, those footpaths as well, to be able to connect people to different areas is really, really important. Lots of different infrastructures are important, and you would know this. We need good schools. We need good hospitals. We need places, community centres. The local community centre here is already overbooked. The local community needs places to gather together. Shopping centres are really important, and I work with the big players to be able to try to get them in as soon as we can, because that's where you meet for a coffee. That's where, mums can get together with their little bubs and play groups and things like that. So community, as I keep saying, is not just about the four walls that you live in. It's a lot more to it. Open space, that education, health, recreation is all really, really important. Yeah.
I think too, humanising that, it's not just about the infrastructure projects, like you're saying, the shopping centres, the parks. It's the emotional element that you touched on. It's a place to gather. It's where families, bring their kids up. Speaking about utilities and services, how have you gone with engaging at state government level and managing the sequencing of utilities around water, telecommunications, even transport? How have you gone working with state government?
It's tough. It's difficult. We need to be able to have that sometimes stick approach where you say to them, for us to deliver your housing, we need that infrastructure to go with it. And water's a given, and pushing Sydney Water to make sure that they've got the right connections. But things that people forget about is the telecommunications. And it's not part of the planning system that says we must have these telco towers in and around these new suburbs. Now, we've worked with federal government to be able to make sure that we get a lot more in these new growth areas, because, connections are a really important thing. I don't know anybody now that has a home phone, but yet, you still have to have that connection to your house. You don't have to have a telecommunications tower close to you, which to me is just crazy. Everybody's on their phones these days. Even people with a disability or the elderly are relying on these to be able to get or feel safe in their homes, to be able to contact somebody if they're injured or they've fallen over, to be able to get some help as well. So that's really, really important. And the number one thing I hear in these growth areas is transportation, whether that's good roads, and roads are important, but good public transport is the number one thing they talk to me about. And the first thing I said after winning the election in September is my number one project is a connection between Tallawong and St Mary's with the metro. It does so much for the community to be able to get around, so that you don't have to get in the car and drive. If we had local stations at Marsden Park, at Schofields, and one in the Mount Druitt area, it would just open up this growth area so much. We could build more things around Marsden Park, more things around Schofields. The uplift to somewhere like Bidwell, if we had a station at Bidwell, the social housing that's in and around that area, that uplift that we could do, and the community benefit in that is just tenfold. It would be a game changer for the Mount Druitt suburb. I know about you, but you talk to people about jumping on the metro, they've got to get to Tallawong at 6:30 in the morning to be able to get a parking space. Now, we got thousands of parking spaces there, but it's that popular. People love the metro. It's quick, it's convenient, it's clean, it gets you to work. You don't have to go, if I miss a train, I have to wait a half an hour for another one. There's another one coming in another couple of minutes for you to be able to jump on. People love it. And not only that, I talk to other mayors around, the Mayor of Penrith, the Mayor of the Hills, the Mayor of Hawkesbury, the Mayor of Ryde. They all talk about this missing link, helping them out as well. It doesn't actually go through their local government area, but somebody, a student living in Penrith to get to Macquarie University, now it takes them forever to get there. But if they were to get off at St Mary's, jump on the metro, which would take them to Macquarie University in no time. People that live in the hills or Ryde, being able to get to the new airport. If at the moment, long way around, you either have to drive, or if you want to catch public transport, it's a long, long way around. If we get this metro link, they'll be able to jump on that and the station pulls up right there at the new airport. So it's important for everybody in and around this Western Sydney area to get that connection, good bus services. And I always talk about, equality for Western Sydney, then for Eastern Sydney as well. Eastern Sydney has lots of stations, lots of buses running around. I think we're lacking a little bit out here. So talking with the state government, make sure they're delivering on those things is part of my job, advocating for this area.
And it sounds like with your fellow mayors across other local government areas that we need a blueprint or a master plan that ties all these infrastructure projects together so you can collaborate, but have one vision that you can take to state government to map out future policy and projects.
That's right. And we do get together. Western Sydney mayors are getting together. We're looking at setting up a coalition of mayors to be able to advocate for all the important things in Western Sydney, not just that infrastructure, but what you're talking about, good planning. Whether that is the new green areas or whether that is going to be uplift in some of the older areas. We've got old stations in Rudy Hill, Dernside, in Quakers Hill that with the right planning, we could deliver more housing, good quality housing in and around those areas where people can jump on what is already good transportation. Yeah.
I think too, I've spoken previously with HIA's Executive Director of New South Wales, Brad Armitage, about this. And releasing land at a state government level to then becoming shovel ready takes about 20 years. From local government, what should we be looking at in terms of advocacy and pushing to unlock and open up these opportunities for developers and builders to really hammer home housing policy and delivering homes for our residents in Western Sydney?
There's so much that goes into delivering a house, as you would know. And it always seems to be that the people from state, federal, even the media blame local councils whenever it's a slowdown, that the planning system's too long, that we're not, getting those plans out as quick as possible. But there's so much more that goes into building houses and doing it in a timely manner. The infrastructure that we already spoke about when it comes to connection to sewerage and water, that telco ability, but also having tradies on the ground ready to build these houses as well. For so long, we didn't invest in that education part, and we have to bring people in to this country to be able to help us build these houses. So there's a lot more to delivering a house than just saying to local governments, can you quicken up your planning process, please? We'll take as much support as we can from the state government when it comes to trying to open up, but we need to have a good look at all the areas in not just Western Sydney. We are happy to do our fair share out here in Western Sydney, but Eastern Sydney needs to have a look at how they can contribute as well. But it's also probably looking beyond Sydney. And I know having a chat to you about some of the areas outside of Sydney, including the Hunter Valley, Central Coast. We can even go further afield into past the Blue Mountains into Lithgow and that sort of areas, opening up good connections to Sydney, and we can then build houses, build communities further afield, not just here, which it seems to be the dumping ground of everything. Let's just go to Western Sydney and build some houses, and that's the that's the fix for everything.
Well, I have to say, on a personal level, from our business perspective, Blacktown Council have been very pragmatic in approval process with development applications. I think using that as a framework for other LGAs, and yeah, that to me is a quick win. Obviously, there's a lot that's, like you said, goes into planning and developing for new homes, but the quick wins around efficiencies with council and getting the approvals, that just helps with supply first of all, but then again getting that shovel-ready land out, boots on the ground, let's start building. So I have to congratulate you for that. It's a very pragmatic approach that you've taken.
Yeah, because it's important. It's important that councils do their part. And don't get me wrong, I might have been having a bit of a whinge about other places as well, but we need to do our part, making sure that we have the plans ready to go as quick as possible. But we need to also look at making sure that builders build the right thing as well. That good builders that we can rely on, that families have a home that they can call home forever, not just 4 walls and put it up as quick as possible, and then 5-6 years down the track they've got problems with it. So it's good to work with good builders as well in the industry. But the other part that we're trying to work with the building industry as well is talking about urban heat out here in Western Sydney. If you have a look at some of these new suburbs out here and have a look at an aerial view of all the black roofs that are going across, there's next to no room between the blocks to be able to plant a tree. And I know it's not the builder's issue, it's a planning issue that we need to build into our planning systems that say there should be other options than black roofs. If you look at some of the suburbs heading down south now, they have light coloured roofs. It makes a massive difference to your home and about cooling and your home in summer if you have a light coloured roof. If we have streets that are big enough to be able to have the verge out the front where you can plant a decent sized tree to be able to cool the suburbs with trees as well, a little bit more green space around does make a difference rather than just black roof after black roof after black roof. So we'll work with state governments and our partners in the building industry to be able to start working on urban heat here in Western Sydney as well.
I think it's so important. 7-star basics and the National Construction Code changes that came in only last year, I think was very much welcomed, around livability, heating and cooling, like you mentioned, but then that design aspect too, and tying that into the emotional side of things where, I often say this, and sometimes I sound like a broken record, building a home for a customer, it's typically going to be their single biggest investment that they've made to date. And it's very much an emotional choice. Having options and communities, which, like you said, there is a bit of differentiation around black roofs. This house here is probably one of the only ones in the street that has a light coloured roof. It's crucially important, but then it comes down to a cost of living aspect too, where paying the bills for electricity, that's a big cost now. So keeping that front of mind for your residents is very important.
Yeah, you get an energy rating on a toaster, but you can't get one on a house. So you'll know when you buy that toaster how much it's going to cost you to run it, and you can say, I'll buy this one, it'll cost a little bit more, but I know it'll be cheaper to run. But they don't do that with houses. That, as you say, it's an emotional thing when you're buying it, not looking down the track saying, how often do I have to turn the air conditioner on to cool it down or warm it up, rather than buying one with a light coloured roof that's got good insulation in it, that has decent eaves and coverages outside, so that it's cheaper to run in the long run. Yeah.
Coming back to planning and development, what are some of the highlights for you so far as mayor in terms of accomplishment for Blacktown City Council?
You spoke about it just recently about the Blacktown Quarter development that we're doing. Now, this is something that started before I became the mayor. I worked with the previous mayor in delivering this, and it's this idea of getting jobs closer to home. We have connected with the Walker Corporation to put $2.5 billion investment into the Blacktown CBD. Now, this is going to change the face of the area. We've got something like 1,000 construction jobs during the project and 4,500 permanent jobs in the Blacktown CBD. And these will be good quality jobs as well. They build their office accommodation to a 5-star rating. It is, if you've been to Parramatta Square and you've been around their office accommodation there, you will see the types of things that are going to be built here in Blacktown, but we think we're going to do it better. Working with Walker, they say Parramatta is good, Blacktown will be better. But it won't just be the accommodation. It will be good quality restaurants and cafes and open space in the Blacktown area that we can use for our festivals, for gatherings there in Blacktown as well. It'll change it from the 1960s looking old school, old town to the next century type of place that, again, will then say to the housing industry, come and build some good houses to go with the good quality jobs that are in the area as well. And this is thinking outside the square too, from a council point of view. We could have sold that area around there to the highest bidder to come and put some houses in. But we sold the land for less, but we said it has to be for office accommodation only. It's for jobs, not just for housing. Housing will come. When the market's right, housing will come and housing will be built. But we just don't get any developers coming into town saying, let me build you accommodation for your offices. It just didn't happen in Blacktown. We've been trying to do it for 20 years. So to connect and have that will be a massive game changer in the Blacktown CBD, which I think will also lead to more and more investment into the area.
Well, I think it's going to put Blacktown on the map. You said tongue in cheek, you're going after Parramatta. Mm-hmm. What they've done at Parramatta Square is amazing. Mm-hmm. I think the execution in Blacktown Quarter and getting that off the ground will be wonderful for your residents. Mm. How did that deal come about?
It was Lang Walker, who was a visionary, who had been to Parramatta and did that, and went, I need to look at the next project, connected with the former mayor, Tony Bleasdale, and Tony said, come and have a look at Blacktown. We're bigger than Parramatta. We have more people here, but we're lacking someone with vision. And it's somebody like the Walker Corporation that can commit to doing something like this, sees what they can get into the future, to be able to look at an area and say, I can see this in 10 years' time, in 15 years' time, of what it can be, rather than somebody just wanting to do little piecemeal types of buildings along the way. They've purchased a large area in the CBD, and they're already working with some industries. They've already connected with some people ready to start calling Blacktown home. So that's going to be exciting in the next, I reckon, 5 to 10 years' time. Blacktown CBD will be a different place. But we're happy to work with anybody. And as Walker says, they need a council with some vision as well. It was a tough decision to be able to say, let's sell some of our land in the CBD. But the way I see it is that I'm investing in the community. We're saying, community, you'll have a better place to work, to shop, to go to the restaurants, gatherings, festivals, right in the heart of Blacktown.
Well, to me, it sounds like an easy sell. You talk about community engagement, population growth. You said numbers up to 600,000 in the next 20 years. Those communities in open spaces like where we are today in Mellenbar, Marsden Park, but also the infrastructure. This is an absolute jewel in the crown, so to speak, at Blacktown Quarter.
Yeah, it will be. Again, connections between here to Blacktown is not that far. But I'm working with the state government to not only improve the Blacktown CBD. We've got improvements coming to Mount Druitt CBD, working with the state government with the Western Sydney Infrastructure Grant Program. We'll expand our library, expand the swimming pool, put a First Nations cultural hub in there. Salvation Army are coming to town as well with a new project there. We're fixing up the streetscape. We're fixing up the parking in Mount Druitt. So that's really important to the people out there west of Blacktown. We're working on upgrading Rudy Hill as well. We've started with Seven Hills with a new library going into Seven Hills, pushing the state government to approve our housing plan there in Seven Hills. And the really important thing out in this area is two things: the master plan for Riverstone, which has been waiting for decades for somebody to do something, and at last the state government have put a plan out there ready to go with, and the CBD here at Marsden Park. We need those connections, those road connections, and where the metro is going to go through, and we can build a good CBD here in Marsden Park as well. So that's upgrading Blacktown, Seven Hills, Rudy Hill, Mount Druitt, Riverstone and Marsden Park, all in this term of local government, which, again, our residents will have good town centres, good CBDs to be able to gather together. So it's really important that we do that in this term of council.
My next question, mate, when do you get to sleep at night, considering all of that?
My wife often says, I know he's been home because there's a lump in his pillow. Connecting with family is really important to me, and I do wherever I can in regards to spending time with the family. I secretly put together a cricket program that I connect with my son because he's 20 now and he doesn't want to spend as much time with dad anymore. So we connect through his cricket team, and I assist him with his coaching. I spend time with my daughters wherever I can, and I'm starting to connect a little bit more with my wife. I've got a great EA who makes sure I get days off. Because I'm just go. Someone wants to see me. Someone wants to do something. Yeah. Let's keep going. And she tells me how important it is to stop, rest, and connect with the family. So yeah, I still do a bit of that. I still love my sport. The NRL is a bit of a passion, and cricket's always been a big thing of mine as well. We always go to the Sydney Test in January. So looking forward to doing that again with my son and son-in-laws as well. So it's a balancing act. And I've got to tell you, I was used to routine, getting up in the morning, breakfast and showering and going to work and having morning tea at a certain time and lunch at a certain time. Evenings were a little bit thrown out with meetings from time to time, but the day was routine. There is no such thing as routine as the mayor. I woke up this morning and say, what am I doing again today? What do I have to wear to be able to go and get a photo here, come onto a podcast, meet somebody? It's so diverse, but yet so rewarding, and I'm loving every minute of it.
If we can touch on leadership and maybe giving some advice around up-and-coming leaders, whether it's in the business world or whether it's people looking at taking on public service, what advice do you have for them? And you mentioned balance is crucially important, but sometimes that doesn't always work. What are your thoughts?
Leadership is different than just being the boss. Obviously, you need to be able to think about the overall project at the end. You need to be able to bring people with you. You need to make sure that people feel valued along the way as well. You have to listen to other people's opinions and work with other people and make them feel like they're in a safe space to be able to contribute. I work with my staff and I often say to them, it's okay to say no. It's okay to give me your opinion. It's okay to say what you did wasn't what I thought was right, because having a lot of yes people with you doesn't help you. You might as well be doing it on your own. You need good quality people with the ability to be able to challenge you in what you're doing and to be able to feel valued and work with you to be able to get an outcome, because this outcome isn't just for me. This is not a Brad Bunting outcome. It's a Blacktown outcome, and there's so many things that go with that to be able to get to that thing as well. I feel comfortable also still getting advice, still reaching out to people, asking advice and getting their opinions to be able to get to an end product as well. So I'm not quite if I've hit the nail on the head with one particular thing, but I would encourage people to don't be afraid to have good people around you. They're not there to take your role. They're there to assist you. And the more better people you have around you, the better you will look as well. I once said to Peter Sterling that, you know, one of the best halfbacks ever to run around a rugby league field, you know, what did you do to be able to be so good? He says, I couldn't help but be good. I had Ray Price on one side of me and Brett Kenny on the other. Of course I was going to look good. So just surrounding yourself with good people, trusting each other, I think makes a better outcome for all. And as a leader, bring other people along with you. Don't try to step them down, try to lift them up. And if they move on as well, all the better for them.
I think you hit the nail on the head there too around mentoring and how important that is. Mm-hmm. Who are some of the people that you've used as a sounding board, especially, you know, you're steering the ship at Blacktown City Council now. A lot of people would be looking to you, but who do you look to?
A great question. My wife's always a great sounding block. She's always the first one to tell me that I'm wearing the wrong thing, or that, you know, don't say that, or make sure you're thinking about this. She's really, really good. Kerry Robinson, the CEO of Blacktown, has this knack of not only having good knowledge, but getting good people around him as well, and be able to work with lots of people in the industry. I get a lot of sound advice from Kerry, and a former boss I used to work with, Ed Husick, the federal member for Chifley, around politics and how politics works. I talk to Ed a lot about that, and he's another one that's, you know, a product of Western Sydney, that's passionate about Western Sydney. So having him as a sounding board is really important.
And who first taught you about, you know, making decisions at a local level and how that shapes people's lives?
That's a good question. I've had some pretty good bosses along the way in my career, people that have community at stake and people at stake. So I've been able to gather, and the thing I think I try to teach my son when he has gone away from, and he's only 20, gone away from playing cricket to coaching cricket. And I've said to him, along the way in your journey, you've had some pretty good coaches. None of them have been perfect. Get all the good stuff from all the ones that you've been with and try to do all that good stuff within yourself. So that's what I've tried to do along the way, is understand what this person does well and gather that, what that person does well and gather that, and try to mix it into being, you know, a good leader and getting the best we can for our place.
How do you tie in, you know, like you said, you're lobbying state government or working with state government, you know, politics, and then again, it's building these communities, which is the emotional part.
Yeah.
How have you worked that out in terms of massaging and sort of, you need to manage both sides, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You need to be able to speak frankly with them. And honestly, the ministers I work with, they get it. They understand it. It's getting to that end product. You need to put them in the shoes of people that live here and why it's important that we do what we do. I don't think you can always go with that stick, bashing them wherever you can, but you still have to have that honest conversation, because unless you have that honest conversation, unless you work with them, we're not going to get anything done. If we just let the status quo be the status quo, that's all we'll ever have. So it is a fine line, and I'm happy to work with anybody, any colour of government, to be able to get the right outcome, whether that's my side of politics or the other. I'm lucky at the moment that I've got my side of politics in both federal and state. We do work really well together. I work really well with the local members out here, but starting to work really well with the ministers as well, and tell them why Blacktown, Western Sydney is an important place. The third largest economy in the country is Western Sydney. We're the powerhouse of this country. This is where people are moving to. We need our fair share out here as well.
I think that wraps things up, Brad. We've covered off a lot. I don't envy your task that's ahead of you, but you're doing a wonderful job. I wish you all the best and appreciate your time coming on Tempo Talks today.
It's been a pleasure to come along. I must say this is my first podcast, hopefully one of many that I get to do. And it's always good to come and talk about Blacktown, always talk about the good stuff that's happening out here. So appreciate the invite.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for today's episode of Tempo Living's podcast, Tempo Talks. Huge thanks to Mayor Brad Bunting, and we'll see you on the next episode.